I want to share with you that as I was preparing for this talk, um, it reminded me again of our vision and mission statement, because our vision and mission statement is so powerful. So I'm going to ask Reverend Kevin if he can bring up that slide for us. And we'll start it today from this place of our vision and mission. By valuing and empowering all, we inspire a fulfilling and joyous life. And in Spanish, it's a valorar y potenciar todo. Inspiramos una vida plena y alegre. And what does this have to do with when the road gets rocky? This could be a really short talk today, because it's like, when the road gets rocky, by valuing and empowering all, we inspire a fulfilling and joyous life. Period. We are already past the basket. Let's sing and enjoy our Sunday. It's interesting because, for me, I think about going on a hike, or sometimes running into potholes on the road. And when I think about it as symbols, because of course the brain doesn't understand words. The words are associated with symbols, right? And so when the road gets rocky, for me, immediately what I see is, boulders to my left, little pebbles in the middle, and, bushes and trees, or, and sometimes things are really smooth, and sometimes, the road gets a little bit rocky. And I think to myself, what are those things that I consider rocky in my life? And what are the things that you consider rocky in your life? So I'm going to invite you to kind of keep this pretty interactive. You can type it into the chat, write a comment on YouTube or Facebook. What are the things that you consider are the things that make your road rocky? So a few of those for me is experiencing loss, or, a car wreck, or, relationships going awry, especially when people don't want to do what I think they should be doing in their life. Right? I also consider it like self-will run riot. Addiction, despair, anxiety, depression, those things, the doubt, or the feeling of unworthiness, or toxic anger, or just being too busy. If we see those things as sometimes the things that make our road rocky, in other words, life at the beach, when you're out there, I love the beach, by the way, right? So when I think of, a rocky road, and I don't mean the ice cream, a rocky road type of living, or life at the beach, my mountain lovers would say a rocky road, right? And my beach lovers would say, life at the beach. And as I consider all of these things that I've named as sometimes the things that make our road rocky, it's interesting to recognize how we navigate through and on this rocky road. I encourage you to go ahead and continue to put in the chat some of the things that you consider are the things that make your road rocky. We have to Name it to tame it. Name it to tame it. We gotta name it, that it's, that it's fear, or that it's lack consciousness. We name it so that we can tame it. And by that I mean, we if you don't know what it is that's making your road rocky, then how is it possible to then recognize what your next steps are? So when it's there in front of you and it is blocking your road, what do we get to be? What do we get to do? Thank you. On Facebook, I hear grief, I hear fear. In the chat, loss, the refrigerator, addiction, self-will. These are the things that we get to go, oh yeah, this is in the way. I love this quote by Mary O'Malley. And I have it here off to the side, and it says, what is in the way is the way. What? What is in the way is the way. Wow. Wait a minute. You mean my doubt, my fear, my past tripping, my future tripping, my not being in control of, the things that are happening in my life, my automatic reactions, and sometimes isn't it those little things that kind of trip us up? Sometimes it's not those big boulders that make us fall, but those little pebbles like resentments or greed, And what if what is in the way is the way? Now, what I mean by that, and how I interpret that, and how I want to make that the source of when the road gets rocky, when I say name it to tame it, if it is anxiety or fear or lack or loss or grief, if it's not being in control, when we name it, we actually are doing what Rumi has invited us to do. And I am not as poetic as Rumi. But in essence, Rumi says to that challenge, to that thing that is constantly getting in our way, kind of trying to block us from getting and doing and being and living our best life, what Rumi says is to open the door and invite it in. Invite it in. Fear, grief, resentment, lack, limitation. Come on in. Welcome. Here, have a seat. Settle in and share with me that which you are here to share with me. Obviously, in everyday language, it's like, obviously you're in the way and you want my attention. So now I'm giving you my attention, but in the most loving way, right? Not being sarcastic, but really being from this place of interest and this place of wanting to grow spiritually. I'm saying, hey, come on in. So what is it? What is it you need to tell me? What's the message that you bring? And see, automatically what begins to happen is we begin to recognize that because we are living in fear, in loss, in doubt, in greed, in unworthiness or busyness or toxic anger, or trying to control, what we can recognize about that is that we have been living and believing, and that we're stuck in the belief and the behaviors of separation from the power and the presence and the life that is our very life. We are believing and doubling down and putting money down on separation instead of recognizing our oneness. Our oneness, that nothing, absolutely nothing can separate me from God, from good. Nothing can separate me from my good. What is for my good is for my good, and I cannot be separated from it. You and you and you and this and that and the other thing does not have the power to separate me from my good, to separate me from my God, to separate me from living my best life. But I certainly do. And I certainly do when I believe in separation. And that is the rub. The rub is that the road is simply the road. We call it rocky, but we can easily navigate through it even by just remembering our vision and mission, that by valuing and empowering all, we inspire a fulfilling and joyous life. By valuing that thing itself, what is in the way is the way. It's the reminder. It's almost like, when we're believing and when the big boulder of our best life is poverty or lack, limitation, and there's this big boulder in our road, right? When the road gets rocky and it's this thing called poverty or lack or limitation, that rock, that boulder, that thing, that pebble itself actually has a sign on it. And that sign on it, if you take the time to look at it, instead of denying it, oh no, it's not there, it's not truth, it's not the truth. What is on there is actually, go meditate, beloved. Remember your oneness in spirit. Remember that your life is eternal. Remember that you are wholeness. Remember that you are one with all. Remember that it is actually there to remind us of our truth. It's just the accoutrements. Those are just accessories to remind us to stay on track and remind us of the truth of who we are. But here's the thing, is that you can't stay clean on yesterday's shower. You cannot stay clean on yesterday's shower. You must shower today. I know during COVID, it was a little bit challenging. Like, why? But what I'm really pointing to by that statement is that you must go into a daily spiritual practice. When Jesus the Christ was teaching people how to pray, he said, give us this day our daily bread. Our daily bread. Daily. Our daily nourishment. How are we nourishing ourselves on a daily basis so that we remember the truth of who we are? In Bible times, it talks about the people of God going through the desert, and every day the way that God would feed them was through the manna from heaven, right? And I can just imagine, I wasn't physically there myself that I can remember, but you can imagine that for a moment, some people were probably saying, hey, you know what? I'm going to get enough manna for tomorrow, because I don't want to wake up early in the morning to go out and get my manna, to get it and get my food. But the manna was only good for that period. It was only good for that time. And by the time it became tomorrow, that manna was no longer nourishing. It was no longer any good, which caused the people to have to go out daily, on a daily basis, for that manna, right? Another way of looking at it is if you drive a certain way to the grocery store or to your work or to a particular spiritual community, you have a route that you usually take. But don't get stuck in that route, because when there are accidents or when that road becomes rocky, you are either delayed or detained and can never make it on time. What you depend upon is the GPS, right? You put on that GPS, that global positioning system, right? You put it on in your car, on your phone or whatever, and it tells you exactly how to get around that accident that is causing delays. And it is the same for us. Just because today is Sunday and we've lived on a Sunday before, let's not get stuck in, I do Sunday things on Sundays, but let us indeed begin by simply going within. All great people who have been successful in life, who are living their best life, are going within. And they're not necessarily telling God, yo, let me tell you, this is what I'm doing, this is what I want, and manifesting it. We all know how to manifest. That's phase 2 of our spiritual growth and development. And we're busy about being in steps 3 and steps 4, which is God is working through us, but then eliminating that idea of separation and recognizing God as me. That indwelling power and presence is right here. And that to the degree in which I tap into my internal GPS, to the degree in which I go within in a visioning practice, and it's just like, what shall I do today? Speak to me in a language that I understand. Guide me, that I have this internal guidance that takes me exactly where I want to go, that has me speaking in a way and to whom it is that I need to speak to, that says, yes, make this move now, or no, don't make this move. When we are in tune with that indwelling power and presence and allow that to guide us, that, beloved, is the guidance and the daily practice. When we sit still and are not moved until we are moved, when we are silent until we are given to speak, it is tapping into that indwelling power and presence. It is that to which I speak of when I'm talking about that what is in the way is the way, that it's a reminder to say, go to prayer, go within, know your truth, take a shower, be showered in this truth, be showered in this truth. I think that's why it's so important for us to recognize and to see our practitioners, our spiritual living coaches, our ministers, because sometimes we're stuck in beliefs and behaviors that are destructive. Sometimes we don't even know that we're tripping over these pebbles. Sometimes we don't even know that we're engaging in unhealthy ways of being. And we wonder why our road is rocky. And whether we see it as the road being rocky or the road being smooth or easy sailing, or all of the symbols and the metaphoric ways in which we see our lives, let us not curse the rocks and the pebbles and the things that trip us up along the way. Let us recognize our oneness, that it is not there against us, but that it is actually there for us to remember the truth of who we are, that it is there so that we can become centered, and quiet, so that we recognize and uncover that indwelling presence, so that we are then moving from this place of my life is the life of God. My life is God. My life is whole, is perfect, is complete. This is where we get this opportunity through our daily practices and through our weekly practices, like hanging out here in the beloved community and being a part of a love-minded community. I've said this before. I don't want to be creating a like-minded community only. I want to be involved in creating a love-minded community, a community that when folks don't even necessarily think in the same way that you or I think, that there is space and that all are welcome. I want to live and dwell in that place of oneness where the infinite reality is expressing itself fully. Here is the opportunity where by using our spiritual tools, not only do we awaken to our spiritual magnificence, but humanity awakens to its spiritual magnificence as well. That is a love-minded community. We're not here to convince anybody. Everybody has their own road. And everyone can call it a smooth road, a rocky road, or whatever it is that they want to call it. What I want to share is just that when things get tough, right? When things get tough, the tough get going. When we have these occurrences in our lives, that what is in the way is the way. It is our reminder. And sometimes I take those reminders because they're gentle reminders. And sometimes those reminders, ouch, come like a 2x4 or like a Louisville Slugger bat. And those things are heavy. Those things are heavy. And ouch, hard lessons to learn. But here we are, this spiritual community got a vision and mission statement that came through our visioning, that when we apply it, when we use it as a practice, when we remind ourselves 7 times 70, times a day, when we incorporate it, when we take it in and adopt it and make it our very own, that by valuing and empowering all, we inspire a fulfilling and joyous life. All of a sudden, I could say, yeah, the road is rocky, but I have a clear path. My GPS, my internal guidance guides me. Or I can say, what rocky road? This is just part of the terrain. And because I am one with the power and the presence that has created me, it's smooth sailing, always smooth sailing. I love it what one of my beloved friends, Reverend Dr. John Waterhouse says. He says, the way you live your life is your prayer. The way you live your life is your prayer. Your beliefs and conceptions drive your life. Wow. How are you living your life? The way you live your life is your prayer, and your beliefs and conceptions drive your life. So I leave you with this affirmation today. Every step of the way is an extension of my faith. The further I go, the higher I rise. As we take a look at living life with our faith, putting our faith in God, trust God, love people. The way to build our faith is like a muscle. We exercise it through our spiritual practices daily. We shower ourselves in spiritual practice daily and weekly, and we come out as the best possible beings that we can be. Our way of life is our daily prayer. What is your prayer saying about you? Let's just take a moment to go into prayer as well. How grateful I am in this moment to simply speak the word and recognize the one power, the one presence, the one life that has created everything out of itself. God, Allah, Spirit, Mother Earth, Father Sky, infinite intelligence, Yahweh, Jehovah, whatever name we call this power and presence, it has created everything out of itself. Therefore, my life is its life. I am the unique, unrepeatable way that God shows up in human form. That which is true of this power and presence is true for me in this human realm. And as I know that this is my truth, I know that this is the truth for each and every one. That God is expressing beautifully, powerfully, magnificently in, through, and as all. Grateful for this truth, I'm simply knowing and calling forth into our experience, to the experience of each and every person, each and every life, to all beings, all sentient beings. I'm simply calling forth the experience of abundance, of beauty, creativity, divine order. I'm simply knowing that eternal life is the truth for each and every one. I'm knowing that peace and power and love and joy are at hand, that it is indeed our very nature and at our core. So we bring our attention there and we let that shine. We remove any obstacles. We simply let those obstacles that we think are the rocky road, we remind ourselves that those things are there to remind us to go back to knowing the truth. My life is God. My life is God. And that there is nothing, no thing that can separate me from the life of God. This is the truth that I speak now. This is what I'm calling forth in, through, and as the expression and the experience of each one. Praying, believing it is done. I simply release my word now into the activity of the law, grateful for its manifestation, grateful for our joy, grateful for our abundance, grateful for our health, grateful for our community, grateful for all things. Knowing that that which is in the way is the way, and grateful for all of it. I simply allow it to be so. It is so, and so it is, and now it is. Amen.